Yeah, good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to this program this morning. Uh, the Joseph Company, building and enduring wealth in an ever dynamic economy. Um, okay, I will just paint some pictures for us to have an understanding of where and the direction that we are going today. Some years back, not too long from, today, backward, as in looking back, some things begin to happen in Nigeria. And before you know it, we used to have what is called a fuel subsidy. How many of us remember that era, okay? And we just had one day that fuel subsidy is gone. And also there were some steps that were taken to also sort of like deregulate, the finance sector, where the government tried to remove the control over forex, as in over exchange rate and all that. And then me as an individual, all of a sudden, I discovered that what used to take me home doesn't take me home anymore. Because why? Price of things just skyrockets. Because of those the impact of those two variables, first subsidy gone, and then exchange rate just went up. So things that were being brought into the country that you could get at a certain value, become almost like double or triple. And then you discover that, what you thought you have even saved, in terms of, okay, I have some money in the bank, maybe your savings account. By the time you go take that money to now do something, you discover that the value of that money has dropped like 3 times downward, southwards. I also had an experience with some, estate developers. Before you know it, they start coming to you with what they call variation value. That yes, we have agreed that this is what this is going to cost. But you, look at the economy. It's not my fault. Things I thought I could buy for 10 naira is now 13 naira. So obviously, what we have agreed before can no longer be sustained. So of course, we enter into negotiation and start discussing, okay, the variation is too much. Okay, me too, I'm an economist, I can do some analysis and some calculation. But eventually, we have to agree at a figure. So why am I saying all this? It's just for us to understand that we live in a dynamic world. You can say, okay, let me just sit down there, at least have a business running, or have, a job with a company, and my monthly income is coming in. I'm not going to impact it negatively. Life still goes on. Believe you me, that is not very correct. Because in one way or the other, whatever happens in the economy will certainly impact you as an individual. So, why are we here discussing today? Right when we started, I was just having some discussion with some people on the table, and they, we're already tending towards, okay, we don't need to depend on only maybe one source of survival, one source of income. So what are we going to do, to also begin to take advantage of the opportunities even in this dynamic economy? And it dawned on, me while we're discussing that of a truth, there are opportunities. Well, it's one thing for you to know that there are opportunities. It's another thing for you to identify those opportunities. Because you can be aware that, okay, yeah, there are opportunities, but have you seen them? Have you identified them? Even when you've identified those opportunities, are you ready to take the necessary steps to take advantage of those opportunities? So you can see that why we are here today is very, very important. It's going to benefit every one of us as we listen, ask questions, let's interact. You might be surprised that the person sitting next to you, there's an idea that you can get from that person, that will help you in this dynamic economy to keep afloat, and not just afloat, but to begin to scale higher and go higher and higher. So what am I trying to just summarize for us is that we are here for a serious business. We are here because, the world is advancing every day. The economy is dynamic. The world is dynamic. Everything around you is dynamic. So why will you as an individual be in one place and static? You need to begin to see, how can I scale up? How can I grow in what I am doing now and in the environment that I find myself? So to this end, I want to say welcome again. Relax, sit back, get your question, your notepad, take down information, ask questions. And as you do that, I believe that we're all going to leave here with some ideas on what we can do to take advantage of what is happening in our world, so that tomorrow will not meet you by surprise. Once again, thank you very much. Welcome to the Jospeh Company.
Thank you very much, Edward. Thank you for that beautiful context setting. So before we go on, I would like to ask a few questions. Who understood what he said? Who understood what he said? Okay, we're not here. Okay, you just came in. Who understood what he said? Please, if you understand, let's raise up our hands. If we don't understand, let's say so that we can redo it again. Right? Do we understand what he just said? Okay, so I'm going to give somebody the mic. Tell me why we're here today.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Isaac. I think one of the major reasons we're here today is to get ourselves abreast, prepared for tomorrow. Let me just use the word tomorrow. Because we are here today because somehow we prepared or unprepared. That has leveraged us at the platform and the stage where we are, and also bridge our status. And so we are here today also to see that we are not caught unaware for tomorrow. Because tomorrow is unknown. But we can foretell, we can see that working on the circumstances today, which we see, because as at yesterday, day before yesterday, the fuel price has not skyrocketed the way it is now. So you cannot really tell what will be the next action that will skyrocket the bag of rice in the market or other things that may matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much. And as he just talked about the price of fuel, about 2 or 3 years back when we had the new government come in, the first thing the president said was, who can tell? Fuel subsidy was gone. And who was prepared for that? Did we ever imagine that the price of fuel would get to 1,000 naira? I mean, before he came in, price of fuel was about 142. But then, in few hours, we saw how everything just skyrocketed. And, for all of those things, sometimes you cannot really see those things coming. But what are you doing to protect yourself from those things? For some people, they will say, oh, I have multiple streams of income. For some people, they say they don't even know. From the questionnaires that we had, a lot of people didn't even know what to do. A lot of people were either here, not there, right? But today, we're going to be exploring all of that, and we're going to be hearing from great minds today what the economy is saying. How do we position ourselves? What do we have to start doing now to have a better tomorrow? Okay, so we're moving on to the next session now, and we're going to be having our guest speaker come up to speak to us about why we are here today. So I'm going to be reading his profile. So Olusegun Zaccheaus has over 18 years of experience advising clients primarily in financial services, telecommunications, the consumer market, and the public sector. His expertise in financial services covers banks, fintechs, insurance, capital markets players, development finance institutions, and regulators. He has built deep competence in topics including corporate strategy, growth strategy, digital strategy, group restructuring, integration and separation, startup advisory and business planning, operations strategy and improvement, strategy execution and business transformation, and macroeconomic policy advisory. So with a round of applause, please let's make welcome Segun Zaccheaus.
Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing? Okay. Good to be here. Give me a moment. Okay. Oh, I can see it. Thank you very much. All right. Hello at the back. All right. It's good to be here. It was difficult to get here. Let me not lie. And I apologize. That's why I came late. So this is what happened. So my driver took Friday off. So there was traffic yesterday, if you guys noticed. So I left the office pretty late. So with the hope that when I wake up this morning, I'll just go and buy food. I woke up and there were queues everywhere, and which is part of the conversation. Stanley was just telling me it's part of the conversation we should have today. So what I know I have slides, but what I'm going to do is to have a practical conversation with us around not just the Nigerian economy, right? Around the global economy, and try to link it back to what we think will happen in Nigeria in 2026. And then I'll bring it back home to each and every one of us. Because the truth is that the world is more connected than ever, right? And a tiny issue that you think may be happening far away in Iran versus Israel and the US have significant impact on us here. And we're all feeling it already. Now, I was talking to my nephew that we're going through the coastal road that I'm going to vote for this government because of the coastal road. He said, no, we can't vote for him. And I also said the analogy our MC gave, in which she talked about the fuel price, being high, right? And I'll also explain that because a lot of times it's good for us to really understand how economy works so that you can really understand how to adapt your business to this, or even yourself as an individual to this economy. So that's what I'm going to talk about. And the way I'll frame it is, do we have a clicker or someone help me move the slide? Okay. But I won't dwell too much on the slide. Let me ask this question so that I know there are kids in the room, so I won't ask them question, right? I want to question, if you hear the word economic growth, what comes to mind? Do we have an additional mic? If we do, please help us move it around. And I can move. If you hear the word economic growth, what comes to mind? Who is going to try for us? Okay, let me come to this table. If you hear the word that the economy is growing, what comes to mind? Okay. There's what?
Economic growth means you can see reality physically that there is improvement in us, in all realms of life.
Okay.
I want to use that word.
Okay.
In business, whatever it is you want to call it, personally, down to your home. So it speaks that way.
Thank you very much. Let me come to this table, and this is a friendly table. When you hear the word economic growth, what comes to mind?
It means that we are making more money.
So we, as you and your family, sir,
no, so
your business.
Okay, I thought you were talking globally. Mm-hmm. So for me, if they say Nigeria is experiencing economic growth, what comes to my mind is that we now have avenues for more inflows into the economy than outflows. So the outlook is better for us.
Thank you very much. That's an excellent answer. I will go to this table. Let's go to our brother. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I think for me, there are certain indices that mark that. For example, the GDP numbers, inflation, employment numbers.
You're an economist, so I'll bring you to the front. All right. So they are looking better. Okay, that's an excellent answer. Let's clap for ourselves, please. That's an excellent answer. I would like to frame it this way. When you hear the word GDP, like that my brother said, gross domestic product, or you hear the word economic growth, what it means is, simply put, the number of productive activity in the economy is increasing year on year. Obviously, if productive activity increases, more money will come in. Are you with me? If more money comes in, assumably, that money should get to everybody. Right? Do you agree with me? But I would then explain something to us. And if you're not going to take anything away from this conversation today, take this away. When economy grows, it's different from prosperity of the people in the economy. And let me explain it, the logic this way, and just follow me. When economy grows, investment comes in. You invest in production. You produce a lot more, right? When you produce a lot more, you earn money from producing more. But do you know you can produce more without creating more jobs? Do you believe that, right? So, sometimes economy grows, production grows, but job creation and prosperity are yet to catch up. So, where we are in Nigeria right now is in the point that I speak to someone from the US, I speak to someone from Singapore, I speak to someone from Dubai. They want to bring investment into Nigeria, clearly. They want to start new businesses. And why is that? Just follow me. It's because of the concept of macroeconomic stability. Forget the big English. What do you mean by macroeconomic stability? What it means is that there are three types of prices you have in your economy. Just follow me. There's price of money, especially foreign money, which you call what? FX. And all of you, some people are doing FX trading now. Who are the ones doing FX trading? So the price of foreign money is called what? Foreign exchanges, FX. Are you following me? The price of goods and services is called inflation. Are you following me? The price of borrowing money from the bank is called interest rate. Are you getting the three prices? Right? So I was trying to define what you call macroeconomic stability. Macroeconomic stability, I want you to follow me closely, is when those three prices are in a determinable range. It can be high or low. Don't forget, if foreign exchange maybe 10 years ago was probably 350, right? But this year is over 1,000. But what will be different between this year and other years is that, foreign exchange will be between 1,200 and 1,500. Are you following me? It means it is predictable, and you call that stability. And when that happens, investors are happy because they know when they bring in their money, they know when they come in, and they know how much they can likely go out. That's one. Another aspect of stability is interest rate. Right? Don't forget, interest rate is still relatively high. Right? But what the central bank, do we know central bank? At the back, do we know central bank? I'll tell them not to print money for you people. Right? What the central bank has said, and I want you to follow this. Second thing I want to take away. That if inflation, price of goods rises, interest rate will what? Rise. But if inflation what? Calm down, interest rate will what? Will follow. So if you look at the last meeting the central bank had, they reduced what? The official interest rates. Because inflation is coming what? Down. And you can see it, to be honest. Inflation, understand what inflation is, so that, because I'm just trying to explain this concept. Inflation does not mean prices are low. Inflation means the rate of increase in prices is low. right? So, for example, at some point, a bag of rice was, I don't know what it was, maybe 200,000 at some point. But towards the end of last year, it was around 150. Sorry, it was lower, kind of. Do we agree, the ladies in the house? I'm sure you know more than me, right? It was lower. So what that is saying is that inflation is what? Going down. So when inflation goes down, the price of money will also go down. So don't forget, I was explaining macroeconomic stability, right? And I said that 3 things you look out for. What are they? Price of foreign money, price of what? Interest rate, then price of goods and services. If you look at those 3 things, you will agree with me that they are stable. Do you agree? In that corner, do you agree? They're stable to a large extent. So what we are saying is that foreign investors are now interested in Nigeria, bringing money into Nigeria. So, I want you to agree with me, we are in a period of economic stability. That is, you can't argue. So, what are the things that can upset that stability or can encourage that stability? So let me talk about a few things. And I'll focus on 3 big things that you need to pay attention to. Because a lot of times when we listen to CNN or Al Jazeera or BBC, a lot of us, we don't pay attention to what the news is saying. So, let's talk about stability again, Nigeria. When you talk about FX stability, what are the things that are driving it? There are 3 important things. One is that everything around FX is not transparent, which is good, right? The second, which I want to focus on, is the amount of FX inflow into Nigeria is what? Increasing. That's why I'm sure we all know the concept of foreign reserve, which is the money Nigeria has in FX. You realize that it's going up, which gives us confidence that FX will continue to be what? Stable. But don't forget, one of the main sources of stability is that foreign exchange, dollar coming to Nigeria, is what? Is increasing. Why is the dollar coming to Nigeria increasing? 3 things to pay attention to. So I keep saying 3 things. One is our oil production is stable and is increasing. In fact, when they said Bola Tinubu, I'm not a politician, resolve the issue with OML, etc. Did you all see the news yesterday? What that is pointing to is that Nigeria oil sector is becoming more stable. The ability to increase our production to almost 2 million barrels per day is almost possible. So when oil production increases, it means the more oil we can what? The more oil we can sell. And when we sell more oil, we have more what? More dollars. One. That's on the oil supply side. But don't forget, there's also price now. It's not just the production. Then war started on Faithful Saturday. That's a week ago. Nobody planned it. Nobody knew, except maybe Israel and US. So, what happened? It's not because of the war, but because there's a small passage called Strait of Hormuz, Hormuz, which tanker that ships oil out of Iran from Asia, from Middle East to Asia passed through. When the war started, Iran said, I'm closing this passageway. So with that, no oil vessel can move oil. With that, oil prices has increased 14, 15, 20%. Are you following me? And don't forget, when oil price increase, production plus price will be what? Will be more money for Nigeria, right? So it means on the FX side, Nigeria will get better. Maybe tomorrow, exchange rate will move to 1-2. Abi? But don't forget, you're also a consumer of oil that is processed. So if oil costs, crude oil costs go up, PMS will what? Follow. And that's what is causing all this wahala. But it shouldn't be wahala because we've been over-pampered as Nigeria. And let me just tell you the truth. One of the key problems we've always had in Nigeria, and that everybody is suffering for, is because we all lived on subsidy. Not just subsidy of petrol, subsidy of FX. Subsidy of FX. In the past, in 7, 8, 9 years ago, some of the things we are doing for the people going for summer, sending 10 children to university in Canada, it was based on subsidy because the price of exchange rate was not correct. It was completely not correct. It was a price that you cannot really go and buy except central bank allocate to you. I don't know if you're following me. Right? So we've lived a forced life for long. I'm telling you the truth. Nigerian economy was built on so much subsidy. Subsidy on oil, subsidy on FX, subsidy on power. We've solved 2 of it. We've not touched subsidy of power. I'm sure that after election, subsidy of power will be resolved. It's coming, likely after election. So, what am I saying? If you take that, don't forget we're talking about supply of FX. If you take all these things I've said, you realize that there will continue to be FX stability into the future. Do you agree with me? And if inflation keeps going down, you mean interest rate will also what? Go down. So, one factor I've spoken about is around oil price, which is a major factor. So, don't forget, when you listen to CNN, and they say, when happen to any country, and oil price is going up, if you're in government, you'll be dancing and be happy for government. But if you're like me, that you have to fill your car, just know that that price increase is coming what? To you. Don't forget, if oil price fall again, it will come back to us. That's the dynamic of the market. Right? So, one factor is that this global development, they affect us here. And they'll continue to affect. But if you pull all this in together, you see a bit more stability on those factors. And you expect Nigeria to be a bit more stable. So, I've talked about factor 1. Factor 2, you need to look out for, is how the federal government and state governments are doing. Okay, that one's not okay. We know. Right? Because if you, and why? You can't really blame them too much. And I know people will say quite a number of things. And let me explain. When the last government was leaving, Nigeria was more than bankrupt. We were I don't know if there's something like over bankrupted. Is there English like that? It was really horrible. And because if you don't sit in the room, you may not even know the level of deterioration. But we sit down with these guys. We know we're in serious trouble from the fiscal side. You see, how was government spending money? They were not borrowing, they could not even borrow again. They were just printing money from thin here to spend. That's the last government. As in, they just go and create money and spend. I don't think you understand. The money that is not tied to anything, central bank has the power to create money now. They just create money and spend. But that has pressure on inflation, has pressure on FX. It just sort of distorts your entire economy. But one thing I can guarantee that this government is not doing is printing money to spend. But they are now borrowing money to spend. No, borrowing money is okay. Because printing is like money that does not exist. You just create it. But borrowing, you must pay back. Right? So we are heavily indebted as a country. Yeah, we're heavily indebted, but it's not that we are bad, but we're not even one of the... US is worse than us. There are several countries that are worse than us. But what may be a bit iffy about Nigeria is that not all of them are being spent on productive uses. So the principle of borrowing money is borrow money, spend it to build an asset. That asset generates future return for you. You use to pay back the money. Or it helps your GDP grow, right? From GDP, you tax and you can pay back the money. That's the principle of borrowing money. But the disconnect that you may be seeing in Nigeria is that not all the money that is being borrowed is being used to build assets that can generate economic growth in the future. Some of them are just being spent on recurrent expenditure, on paying salary, etc. and all that. So there's a bit of challenge on the effectiveness of the government. But one of the other things the government has done well, which I also speak to, and which is also what fits into how you see Nigeria, is the reforms. I can almost say, and I don't know what your view is, people don't agree with me. I think this government is even bolder than Obasanjo's government. They've done massive reform. This subsidy removal that we're talking about, do you know several governments tried to do it, but they could not get it across? Right? So they are bold on reform. The reform can be painful. Right? For individual, it can be painful. But the truth is that we had no choice but to do those reforms. And because of those reforms, Nigeria is now a lot more attractive. I'm telling you, foreign investment is eating Nigeria at the speed of light. And we see them, we converse with them, we see people trying to build businesses. They are. And you also notice that all our businesses, maybe 2 years ago, you saw the consumer market when they reported losses. But this year, the story is different. Almost every company is doing decently well because of the macro stability and the reforms. But nevertheless, there are still some aspect of reform that is still outstanding, which is the issue, for example, power sector. So let me tell you the problem with the power sector. The problem with the power sector is because the old system does not work. And let me explain. We generate light by Genco. The distribution, discos, they distribute the light to sell to us, to pay for the light. But some of us don't have meter to even recognize what we use. So there's actually that problem. And the cost of light in Nigeria, most of us don't want to pay for it. Because the cost of light is not the cost of light that we are paying for. It's not. It can be. Then there's a problem that the disco need the money to build more infrastructure. But they are so heavily indebted that they are barely getting money to pay their debt, so they cannot make investments. So it's double whammy. And if you don't invest, you cannot expand power infrastructure. So it's a vicious circle. Two things will solve the problem. Government can fund, intervene, they've tried, right? Then the economics of power sector has to work, which goes back to subsidy, increased costs to us as individuals, right? So that is an aspect that is still an issue, because we need it to sort of drive economic growth. Are you following me? Don't forget, we're talking about factors that's impacting Nigeria. I talked about the global events, right? Then we're moving toward the fiscal, that's the government side, right? The third part I'll now talk about is on what we call the monetary side. This is very, very important for you to pay attention to. When you hear the word monetary, forget the English. Do you know what central bank stands for? Do we all know central bank? I want to be sure. We know central bank, Abi? Central Bank of Nigeria. Do you know their work? At the back, do we know their work? I will explain. Their work is to manage money. It's as simple as that. It's to what? Manage money. They try to manage the price of the money you used to buy goods, which is what? Inflation. They try to manage the price of the money you used to buy FX, which is what? FX. They try to manage the cost of loan, which is what? Interest rate. And they are very important in the economy, because one of the problems we had in Nigeria the last time was the last leadership of the central bank. They messed up the entire policy environment. But I can't eat my chest, but I can try to eat my chest, that the guys now there know what they're doing. And they're very firm on what they will not do. So that's why the issue of printing money to give federal government has almost gone to zero. So if we take policy from their perspective, I said this thing before, and I need you to pay attention to it. What they've said is that, look, we don't have wahala. All we want to do is to tame inflation. If inflation goes up, interest rate will what? Go up. If inflation goes down, interest rate will what? Go down. Very simple. Right? The only thing that can happen that may affect that equation is if Donald Trump gets angry and say maybe all foreign investors or Nigeria, blacklisted Nigeria, and people start taking their foreign investment out, etc. and all that. Which is, I think, the federal government has also played this game well, right? Which may not likely happen, but it's a threat that we look at. The last point I'll just talk about is security. That is the only one that I don't have good news about. There's no resolution in view, unfortunately and painfully. And let me tell you why. Because a lot of times we don't also understand the security issue. There are three drivers of security issue in Nigeria. One is an issue that has nothing to do with Nigeria. It's the issue that is coming from Libya, Sahel, the entire Sahel, that's flowing down. So you really realize that it's not just Nigeria, it's Niger, right, that facing those issues. As regime collapse in, for example, in Syria, in Libya, they find some way to go to. And these people are harmed, so they flow the arm down to this part of the world. That's one major element of security. We can't solve it alone. That's why cooperating with other countries and with the US is very, very important. Let's not lie. The second point is the rush for critical mineral. It's the rush for critical mineral, sorry guys, which means the gold in Samfara, the lithium, etc. and all that. It's serious. If you know the amount of gold that leaves Nigeria illegally and find themselves in Dubai, it's crazy. If you see the pressure on all the critical minerals we have, it's crazy. It's a crazy pressure. And it's creating a lot of instability in those axes that have those critical minerals. That's the second point. The third point around insecurity is the domestic traditional issues that we have. We can face the traditional issue, right? But part of the problem is that because it's tied to the more Sahel issue, so it's a complicated issue. Because the current leadership, you see everything in the Niger Delta, if you notice, it's like the level of partnership with government in that area has improved. Ogoni land that had problems for long, they've resolved it, they will start production in Ogoni land. So I also think this government, when it comes to deal making, they can do it. But this issue is beyond, it's not deal making. You just have to get your intelligence right. You have to get your security architecture right. Let's talk about the Iran on the side. Iran, USO. Yes. Can we give him the mic here?
Yeah, before you move forward, you do mention that, look, yeah, the economy is doing well. But that does not translate to the creation of, jobs?
Jobs, yeah.
So which is because what affects me on the street is the job.
Yeah, I'll get there.
So because that is more...
I'll get there. Don't worry. Fantastic. I'll get there. I'll get it right after now. Which once I land this issue of security.
Security, okay.
Yeah. So I know I have like 10 minutes. Right? So what I'm saying around security is this war, US thought it was going to be very easy. They never think Iran will eat close ally in Middle East and target critical US bases, and not just US bases, US assets like data centers, etc. in UAE, Amazon, etc. It made the matter very complicated. And I just want to sort of underscore the issue around security is a major complicated issue. We don't have a resolution, and that's the only bad bits, of these things I'm talking. So let's bring it home. And thank you for that, Excel. I was going to land on that. Get this my equation. Economic growth takes time to lead to economic development. What is economic development? Economic development is when your poverty rate reduces dramatically and where job creation accelerates, and you call it inclusive growth. So, what has this government not done quite well? A lot of the policy reform that happened, and I say happening, is focused on businesses and attractiveness of Nigeria as a business, but with a negative effect on individual. So what hasn't worked was government was supposed to ensure there's an expansive intervention in the economy. They are trying, but it's not working. So that part has failed. When do I see this begin to have impacts on us as individuals? I'm sorry, I said another 18 months. End of this first tenure. And let me tell you why. Because I told you that capital is coming in. But capital needs to establish business. Capital needs to buy equipment to expand its business. You buy the equipment, you fix the equipment, then you begin to recruit people that work with the equipment. I don't know if you're following me. So, good news, capital is coming, but it takes time to convert capital to employment creation. Right? So, there will be some sort of challenge over time, and consumers, as all of us, will be pressured. And unfortunately, it's disproportionate. Right? Because people that are out of jobs or are in low-wage jobs, you know what we mean by low wage? They are the ones that are most affected, and the ones that are not getting increase in wage. People in high-wage jobs are getting enhancements in wage. So the level of inequality in Nigeria has expanded. In fact, one of the things in our last report is that poverty rate will also increase in 2026. Right? That is it. So, but let's summarize. What's the opportunity for us? Because it's not about what the externalities are. And I'm going to talk about 5 dimensions of opportunity even from this macro development. There's one, Stanley, we know very well. You know, I'm sure this is a Christian gathering, right? Am I correct? You know when, in the Bible that, they were trying to build a tower to reach heaven, right? And God sort of confused them, their language, etc. They're trying to build something great. But what I'd like to tell all of us now, we're in a season in which all of us can be builders. I don't know if you understand that. And if you are technology illiterate, just know that even the job creation that is coming in 18 months, you may also be disadvantaged. I'll give you a personal example. I was on a train from Paris to from Paris to Amsterdam, got into my hotel, and within that space of time, I built an app. I don't know anything about computer. I'm not a computer. I built an app. I shared it with people. They were able to use the app in a space of a day's trip. I did most of it in the train where I did not do anything. I just told the AI the thing to do. And it was showing me everything. I just signed on something and I built an app. Useful app in one day. What I would like to tell us, especially everybody, it's not just young ones, because we all have access to this platform, is we must become builders. Whatever idea you conceive in your heart, you can actually build it by yourself or with one more person or 2 person. Or you can at least have a prototype that you can work with people on. So first encouragement on the opportunity, and I didn't spend time talking about technology, is on the technology side. An ability to use all these AI things everywhere. You can build anything. People, I'm a consultant. You don't, if you're a small business owner, you don't need a consultant. If you want to know how to grow your business, just sit down. You don't even need paid version of ChatGPT or Claude. Begin to have conversation. This is my business. This is the area I am. These are the people. These are the products. These are my competitor. What should I do to grow my business? Please, if you own a business here, or you even want to start a business, try this. So the first and most important opportunity you have is the opportunity in technology to drive personal productivity. I'm begging you, if you don't take anything away from this conference, go and start to leverage technology. You don't even need more than your phone. To get access to all the knowledge in the world has been democratized and at the tip of your finger. Brains that are better than all the big consultant brain in the world has been summarized. Become a builder. Become a builder. That's the first opportunity. And the people of God, please don't think AI is devil. Don't forget, you can even build your personal Bible devotion. Right? AI is agnostic, which means it's whatever you use it for that will give you. If you want to use it to do evil, use it to do evil. If you want to use it to do good. I was looking at the scripture sometimes and I wanted to know, the origin, I just put it. The guy brought, I said the guy. The machine brought every book of the key faith authors, all the 1400, 1500, they've written about that topic. What the summary of what they've said is, right? Talked about the Greek, all the different kind of meaning of the word, the antonymy. Not this one that our pastor will just come and say, kakaka, which means the Greek meaning. That one that you can get your own Greek meaning of any word right now, right there. I'm sure you know that. So, I just want to tell us to be builders. That's one. Number two, in terms of the sectors of economy, what do we see for you to make a bet on? Right? I think for me, one of the primary focus, because of the context of Nigeria, is I like people that want to manufacture things. They are the bold ones. But if I want to prioritize the business you do, don't start from manufacturing anything. Please. Because Nigerian context, I talked about power. I didn't go into infrastructure, right? It makes the cost of doing business very high. It makes your ability to translate what you have to profitability very hard. But go for services and go for trade. Anything you want from China that you want to sell today, you can design it. You want to be selling cup that has picture and all those things. You will order from China today. They will customize for you. Don't go to the one that you ask for one big thing. They'll give you the tiny form. Is it Temu and Oba? You will manufacture and you will sell it. I don't know if you are into interior decor and all those things. Recently, I was trying to buy some floor lights. And I was amazed by the number of floor light sellers that we have in Nigeria. I bought a couple. The quality was outstanding. They were not manufactured. You don't go to Temu, you see the same thing. Just tell them in China, this is how I want this stuff, right? They will design it for you. You will ship it. And you will start selling, sharp. So please, start with the easy one. And FX is now stable. Go and trade something. Start with services. Offer service, right? Leverage all this AI and computer that we have. Easy win. Just find your own product or type of service you need to offer. So, first one, become builders. Second one, play in services and trade. Trade is simple. Just China. Tell them what you want. I'm telling you this. Just tell the kind of product you want to be selling. Decide it. Order and start selling. That's, for me, is the second category of opportunity. The third one where I will land and begin to wrap up, is the opportunity in the financial services. Right? What do I mean? If you notice that the financial services landscape is changing a bit, and this one is very, you need to just pay attention, and because it's a bit more harder. It's harder. We're getting to a point in which financial services will be fragmented. In your community, let me say our community, but the journey was long, Sha. In this Aja community, you can start your small financial services, your small app that is just targeted to this community, that you will be properly licensed because you are writing on API. They call something application program interface. There's a concept called open banking, and I don't want to go into theory, which gives you the ability to offer banking services without being a bank by partnering with licensed entities, just leveraging technology fund. So, stuff from financial services in different dimensions is something you can look out for. More, complex, but you don't want to do fintech and you want to do valuation. No, that's not what you're doing. You just want to be doing your own this and be making your own profit, etc., and all that. And if you want to start loaning people money, that's a business that if you do well, you're not greedy, you will still make money. You just have to have your security system very well. Right? So, financial services is a cheat. Most of the billionaires that got refined financial services, they are criminals. Know what I mean? Not criminal in that sense. Because it was just easy money. Right? So, I will land at those three areas. So, let me summarize. 2026 is a better year. 2027 will be a better year. This government has allowed great things to happen. I don't know where you lean, but that's the fact. What you must pay attention to is the things we call shocks, and I'll land with them. Shocks are unexpected events of unexpected magnitude that can scatter everything I've said. So, for example, if oil price, in fact, the energy minister of Qatar said that oil price could potentially reach 150. We pray not to. Nigeria will earn money like those days, but how are we going to go out now? Right? It's 150 today. No, it's around 90 something. It's 80 and 90 something. It's like 14-15%. 150 is I know people will be smiling, but the rest of us will not smile, right? So oil price shock can upset quite a lot of things, right? There are security shocks. I pray we don't have that. We saw what happened in which a bomb was dropped was it on Christmas Day? Right? In Nigeria. There are also areas of shock. But what should you do as an individual or as a business owner? Apart from exploring the opportunities, one of the things you see, you must diversify your assets, your customers, so that you are able to withstand shock to any segment or any segment of investment. Third and last point is that build resilience into your personal operations, right? Which means for individual, have some savings somewhere that is cash related that can support you if things go haywire. For business, right, you need to build some redundancy into your business in a way that if your revenue drops dramatically, you can still cover your cost over a period of 6 months, right? So those are the important things. With these few points of mine, I've ended the presentation, so I don't even want to take questions. Thank you very much.
But you ended up in a landing. Your landing is on shocks, which is the most critical point in all what you have said. Now, looking at it, where we are, because major worry for me is actually from October, November 2026 is a major worry which dovetail into February 2027. So now, looking at the movement, I mean, you may not want to talk about politics, but, but looking at all the movement up and down now,
no, there's no movement up and down. There's only movement up.
Okay. Okay, well, there's a movement sideways too.
Those in the FCC matter or other ones. Or the lights are on. Please go ahead.
So, looking at that, also, we cannot throw the opponent also to say, look, they did not exist. You know, they do exist. But looking at it, if by any means there's a change in government, are we not going to start from ground zero again?
So, I'm not into politics. I would say I pray not. And I'll tell you why. I'm not a politician. We cannot start again. Whatever happened, all this policy must be lived through to get to the point of, we can't have suffered this much as a country and not reap the benefit. And this personal view, this election view. See, all the policies that have been executed, all the reforms, they are needed. They are very good. Forget any political leanings that you have. And you need to see them through for individuals that are suffering now to begin to get the benefit. So my own perception is, I don't even know if change of government is, that's not the problem, is that this policy cannot be reversed. And because, fortunately, I also sit in the room. I sit in the highest of places, right? And you know the pain it took them. Some things they've been trying to do them forever. We've not been able to do them. All we just need to do is to see this through, right? And be sure each of us are reaping the benefit. But let me now speak to politics. I'm not a politician, but I'll tell you what I was telling my nephew. Okay, I said it now. I was telling my wife, John, on the phone. This government will win this election, clear. It's not, right? It's not into contention, right? And I'm not giving political prophecy, right? But it's sure, and we've seen the political alignment, etc., and all that, right? But for us as individuals, one of the things I just want to leave with us is to understand for individuals it's tough. But you need to look at, on the global scale, the progress we've made. FX is far higher than it's supposed to be. But the mistake, what people didn't understand is that FX was already 1,000 several years ago. Because you can't say there's FX that people producing cannot have access to. I don't know. Do you know how many companies left this country because of the FX issue? Do you know how much losses were declared, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because of this FX issue? So, maybe because I sit from a macro level, right? So it's tough on individual level, and I don't think government has done enough at the individual level. But I believe if we continue to go ahead this way, it could be better. But I'm not a politician. I'm not saying a leader is good or bad. But from a macro perspective, that's what I expect to see. So when I speak to global investors too, and everybody's more comfortable about the next election cycle than we typically will think about it. Yeah.
All right. Can we give a round of applause to Mr. Olusegun? That's quite interesting. You can sit somewhere. There are questions. Over the next 5-10 minutes, we'll take questions real quick. So I hope we've learned a lot. If you've learned something, raise up your hands. Okay, cool. So again, next 5-10 minutes, we'll take questions quickly. I see a couple hands up, so let's just take numbers. Uncle Stan, 1, 2, 3. Who else? 4. Okay. All the questions are online as well. All right. So just to help us of time, if you can address 30 seconds, 1 minute each one. Okay. Yeah, and so we're quick. All right. So we'll start with Uncle Stanley. Should I stand up? No, you can sit down, please. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Shelu. I think I'm a bit confused in terms of the development that we see, okay, at the macro. Okay, there's progress at the macro, And I will agree that at the micro individual levels, we are not seeing the impact, you know. Will that 18 months to 20 months window be maybe the starting point of when the individual, at the individual level, will start reaping the benefit, you know, potentially, or it has started, but it will scale, you know, up till about maybe Q2, Q1 next year. That's one. I just need some assurance, you know, from where you sit. Two, you spoke about 3 areas. One is the financial services area. The other is the technology, and also, so you have service, you have technology, you have financials. You know, the service part, okay. So I hear things like my little petty trading, my laundry business, I sell Akara, I sell things like that are recommended, because as the development comes in, you know, these areas will also benefit. So one, do we need to wait this long, okay, for the individual to benefit? Two, the service industry, I would want some, maybe more insights, you know, like what I do. Am I on the right track? I'm a laundry guy. I sell rice, I sell beans, I sell Akara. Am I on the right path? So maybe I layer it with technology and a few other things and position myself for, you know, what is to unfold. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just quickly answer the question. I think the question around my own personal forecast on 18 months, right? I think it started now, but substantial impact will be felt more after 1 year and 18 months. And let me give you example. We went to Qatar, or is it Qatar or Dubai, and we had an agreement. And several companies said they're going to bring capital in business A, business B. They'll bring the capital. They'll build the business. They'll set up the factory. It's after they set up the factory, they'll start recruiting people to work in the factory. So it's the gap between investment and production that we're talking about. So it will continue to improve, but we won't see significant impact till about 18 months, which is the timeline, right? So what I expect is that unemployment level will continue to improve, but significant improvement, major one, will be longer. That's the truth, right? So you won't feel palpable difference, honestly. You know, I'm not going to lie about that. On the business part that you talked about, that's an excellent question. What you need to look at, so there are two ways to look at businesses, right? How do people spend money? You look at what you call discretionary spending, and you look at non-discretionary spending. If you look at the income pie of Nigeria, right, what you see is that maybe a year ago, between 60 to 65% is spent on food and maybe a bit of clothing. But don't forget, as inflation grew, people must take the essential, right? Which means less spending on discretionary. So more spending will go to non-discretionary, which will be food, clothing, education, etc. and all that. So any business that is done well in the essential segment of the market will always do well, even as economic is going up. That's one. Number two is that part of our forecast is that consumer spending power, though it will not grow significantly till that 18-month cycle, but it is increasing. So as consumer spending power increase, don't forget, where will it go first? It will go first to food, to the essentials. So if your business is around the essential, right, you will continue to do well. So I guess, I don't know if that helps answer the question. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So let's go to the next question. All right.
Yeah, thanks for this program. I had a question before, one just came in now. While you're talking about opportunities where we can really invest in or take from this conference, you talked about 5 dimensions, but you gave us 3. That was one. Secondly, in the area of manufacturing, you almost skipped it by going into service. Now, my question there is, why do we always run to China for manufacturing? Can't we have this in the country here? It will even boost the economy more.
That for me is an excellent question. And, you know, when it comes to conversation around manufacturing, right, there are three things you need to think about. And please pay attention to this. It's cost of doing business, cost of interest rates. Are you following me? And the nature of demand you have in your market. In Nigeria, even in the next 10 years, cost of doing business will be high. It's not, and because why? For cost of doing business to be low, you need the infrastructure cost to be low and accessible. But don't forget, we talk about power. It's a major cost. For the larger manufacturing, they are moving to gas, right? Which is improving things. For the government, they are trying to create free trade zone or industrial parks, which also create advantage. But don't forget, how much of that can we see? So that's the disadvantage we have in Nigeria. I'm not saying we should not go into manufacturing. I say you have to be bold and courageous to go into manufacturing, right? And for Nigeria to beat China, the truth is that it's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to be a rational economist. You know, I see some video on Facebook, you see somebody creating a car in Nigeria with some tire. So what absolute nonsense. I'm sorry. Or someone creating a drone with absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. We're celebrating that what? Someone has something to create drone already set up. I'll give you an example. There's a company called Terra. Nigerian company, they are creating drone, they are working with, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about one person packing wood and say, that's absolute, I don't know if you understand my point. People celebrate, that's absolute nonsense. You go and create the real things. So where we don't have comparative advantage, honestly, as business people, I'm not going to talk about Nigeria economy now. You should go to where you can maximize your capital. So if you have like 10 million naira now, I'll say you go and invest in I'm your enemy. Let me not lie to you. Get that 10 million and go and bring something and sell. Now, we're not the policy people. Because when I speak with the policy people, I will tell them something different. But for you, to maximize your 10 million, go and resell. But you are not government now. Let government worry with that. You need to maximize your intention is to maximize your capital. You want to help government. You already pay your taxes now. Do you get? So if for the government side, I'm telling them, we'll advise them. But for you, you need to make a rational decision that maximizes your capital. Okay. I don't know if that helps.
Can we clap? Make a rational decision that maximizes your capital, right? We have a few minutes left, so move really fast now. We have a question there, very quickly, and we'll just take it.
Thank you very much, sir. I have just 2 questions. Number one shock I think maybe we need to mention is the fact that the GDP may increase, all these things may increase, but there is issue of massive corruption. We get all this money and one man or 2 people, they steal. And I mean, that's what happens generally. We make a lot of money. I mean, if you know what happens in Abuja, you'll be shocked that even people in their offices, they dole out dollars as gifts from their cupboards. I mean, I'm sure you know that during elections, dollars are spent. I mean, there's massive corruption. So that's 18 months to 1 year. If that shock continues, I'm not sure it's realizable. That's one. Then number two is also the fact that maybe one other policy that I cry about is because I work with rural people in the north, in the northern part of the country. That is not translating. Give an example. I work with farmers in Niger State, in Katsina, and all of that. And the cry presently is that cost of production has increased because of cost of farm inputs, fertilizers, and all of that. And because of the policy of importation of foodstuff, it has crashed price. That's why the price of rice and everything is going down, because there's a lot of massive importation of food. And for those farmers who we need to help, many of them, I talk with them, and in fact, we are presently doing a survey. And the cry is that poverty is increasing at the rural level. And some people are already translating to be a deliberate political toast. Let me not go into that, but that's just my pain.
Thank you. I think those are comments, and I don't disagree with you. So that's why I was saying, my brother is no longer there. When you are doing your own personal investment policy, don't think about government, please. Because the same government that told people to go and invest in agriculture, they changed the policy overnight. So today is not government conversation because we are not government. So think about your business as a rational agent. Or everything you said is correct. I'll say it's a comment, because corruption is an issue that cannot be resolved, right? And this point you made around the importation is an issue that is affecting the farmer. That's why when someone tells them they want to go into agriculture, I'll say, God bless you. Honestly, you can do processing, but you want to go to primary agriculture, God bless you. That's how you can maximize your capital. That's fine. If it's your ministry, that's what God has called you to do. God will help you, right? But if you say because you love Nigeria, please don't do business because of patriotism, please.
Okay, so we're wrapping up this now. If you're online and watching, if you have any question, we can take one quickly. Okay, you can type it in the comment or quickly raise your hand, anyone, so we can quickly take that. Do we have any more questions in the hall? I see one, so just one more question. Okay, one hand up. Just one, okay. All right, so one question online. Let's build engagement with our online audience. Technical team. You can unmute and speak if you're online. Go ahead.
Okay, are you hearing me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Very solid program. Can we have this also organized at the mainland?
We can.
Because sometimes network, here we are plugged in online, but you know what network is. So if we can have this same program organized at the mainland, it will really be good for those of us on the mainland to sit down and have face-to-face discussions, with you guys and with the panel. Your presenters have just been solid, very knowledgeable, with solid experience. These are things we like to tap in and then, of course, have face-to-face connection after the meeting and discuss. So I don't know if you can have this organized in the mainland.
All right. Thank you very much, Uncle Mo. That will be looked into, and yeah,
thank you very much.
It'll be commission put up. Yeah, thanks. Yep. I have a final question. Final question. There's a number of persons here, employees, in the tech space and all that. Now, as someone who's played at the very highest levels, this question is sort of impacting them. Now, in terms of building wealth as an employee that earns, let's say, $700,000 a month currently, right? What will be a very practical roadmap? Like you said, there's no government here. It's human beings, us. So practical roadmap in the sense of, okay, you make X amount, you can put this in mutual funds, you can put this in dollars, blah, blah, blah. Using all of the knowledge you have, what's coming, where we are and all that, what's a roadmap, say, over the next 5-10 years, if the person will be earning $700,000 a month? Yeah.
That person must be very rich. Thanks, bro, for the question. Right. So why I'm not a wealth manager, let me caveat whatever I'm going to say. Right. I think what we've seen over time, is there now better access to global assets and local assets, right? You know, all of us can actually be our own individual asset manager. So my simple advice, why I'm not advertising for piggy vests and rice, is at a 700K, I think the primary way is to focus on long-term wealth building, which means you just save your money or invest in mutual funds and diversify. Now those things are at the tip of our fingers. So my simple, I don't have a complex advice at 700K. If you don't have PiggyVest app, you don't have, I'm sure we know they have the Rice app, most of them, just get there, make sure, you know, they always say 30, 30, 30, and it's an investment advice, right? Make sure 30 are in the safest instrument, which will be treasury bills and government bond. That's 30% of your amount you choose to invest. Make sure now 30 is more on the risky side, maybe between equity. Please don't go and do FX trading, if you are not an expert. I'm begging you, right? Then also, what I've realized is that, though it's not painful, you know, before saving in dollars used to be good. But for all of you that save dollar at 1.5, you've lost money. Except for a long time. But if you're saving for a long time, it's always good to have a dollar saving. So I think for me is, and this is not a financial management class, make sure there's a portion of your income that you're saving. So it's until you build some sizable volume of wealth before I will advise you to venture. That's one. But if there are ventures that you can do side also, don't forget we are all builders now, right? That you can do at night, you know, that you can do that does not affect your day job, right? I think you should also venture into it. But make sure, except you are a bold entrepreneur, I think, my brother, you like a bold entrepreneur that you can't just go and put all your money, all your wife's money in a single business. It's always good to have a base before you venture out. I don't know, it's like an adversary advice, but that will be my thought. Thank you very much.
Please, a round of applause for him. That was a very, very, very beautiful session. Thank you very much, Segun. I mean, we wouldn't have asked for anything better. Please, another round of applause for him. For me, if we're not going home with anything from this session, is that we can all be builders. And we begin to start exploring that we can all be builders. All of the resources are in front of us, all of the resources. So we can all be builders. Thank you so much. So quickly, please sit. Thank you. So quickly, we're moving to our next session, which is our panel session. And this session, get your pens and your jotters ready, because there will be so much that will be unpacked in this session. And so Olusegun is also part of the panel session, so he's already seated here. So another round of applause for him, please. So our next panelist is one of our own, very, very beautiful lady. I know we've all seen her. Yeah, very beautiful lady, very intelligent, very experienced, and we'll be welcoming her shortly. So she is a seasoned business strategist with over 3 years of experience driving innovation and growth across industries, including financial services, consumer goods, technology, and trade. She specializes in strategy development and execution, market assessment, go-to-market strategies, and production innovation, delivering impactful solutions that unlock new markets. She currently serves as the Director, Visa Consulting Analytics, West and West Central Africa, where she helps businesses in payments, value chain leverage, data-driven strategies for sustainable growth. Her career journey includes 10 years of business consulting at Ernst & Young. She's also a volunteer with Life Academic Training Institute, teaching the John Maxwell Foundation principles. She is a first-class graduate in computer technology. Can you imagine? A first-class graduate from Babcock University and a distinction holder in telecommunications with business in the University of College London. She is a proud wife and a mother of two, finding joy in friends, family, mentorship, and building Africa's future. With a great round of applause, please let's welcome Bathsheba Alobo. I cannot hear that clap. Okay, our next panelist, we all know him. He's one of the tech gurus in the house, right? Our next panelist, the co-convener of Tech Revolution Africa, will be sharing his knowledge with us. Hold on. I've not even read the profile, so let's hold on. I'm coming. Oh, God, I'm almost saying praise the Lord. Where is the Christian event, right? So I can actually just say my praise the Lord. I've been holding it back since, like, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. I need to let it out. Praise God. Amen. Amen. Okay, so our next panelist is a passionate leader multiplying skilled tech talents in Africa. He has led confirmed partnership between his company, HOH, a company founded from the idea stage, the World Bank, and the Federal Ministry of Education. Currently leading advocacy for brightest innovators, startups, and emerging technology talents in Africa through the Tech Revolution Africa platform, partnering multinational organizations in Africa, including MTN, Huawei, Project Management Institute, Tech Mahindra, Legal Data, but to mention a few. Over the past 7 years, he has worked full-time and part-time, consulting to develop over 350 businesses within the startup ecosystem across Africa, UK, and the United States. His media features include Business Day, Punch, Vanguard, Tech Cabal, TVC, Radio Nigeria, and The Guardian. He's an electrical engineering graduate, but who has ventured into technology. Please let's welcome David Ogebe. I can't hear that clap. Okay, last but not the least, the person who will be hosting this session, a very calm, demure, Fulani man, but not Fulani, right? He is a programs manager and an agile coach who bridges the gap between complex technology and tangible business impact with over a decade in telecoms and fintech projects. He is currently with MTN scaling over 40 million users to deliver MTN's first global AI recommendation engine. In fact, before we leave this space, this is the AI guru you should be talking to. His day job includes steering AI initiatives for a major organization where he leads teams that build technology from apps that scale for millions to AI engines that make smart recommendations. His role is to guide the conversation as we explore this essential question. What is economic outlook for 2026? So please let's make a welcome Samuel Anati.
You're welcome. You're all welcome. All right. Thank you all. And I think it's been a very interesting conversation, right? Really interesting. My notes are almost full. And just like we were told, those jotters and pens that are by your side, let's make real good use of them. Okay, something away from all this. You had all our profiles, right? And that tells you how you can even leverage AI. So right now, maybe we give ourselves an assignment. Just tell AI what you do. Tell that ChatGPT on your phone. In fact, all of us have WhatsApp AI, right? Tell AI what you do. And as we are here now, just tell it, okay, this is what I do, this is what I want to be doing, this is my target audience. It will give you your profile and put it on your page from now going forward. Are we going to do that? Let's start even as we are here. So my discussants, thank you very much for being here. And I'm going to start on something that maybe is very different to break the ice. So tell us, and I'll just give you 1 minute each. Tell us one thing that you like doing that nobody knows, or very few people know about. Just one thing that you like doing that very few people know about. Your mic? Anyone can start. Okay, let's start with David.
Okay, so completely unrelated. I like to watch Nickelodeon,
Wow.
the Thundermans.
That's strange, right? You'd probably think he's always looking at the next project that he should do, Nickelodeon. I'm sure his son will be happy about that. All right, Sheva.
So I like to make balloon arts.
Balloon?
Arts, so things with balloons.
Wow, nice. You never think that will be one of the things she loves to do. All right.
Okay,
Segun?
okay, since You guys don't know me. I only write on two type of notebooks. Either a Moleskine notebook or Leisure-Time 1947 notebook.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
they're just notebook brands. They're not in Nigeria, but
okay. You probably would never know that, right? Okay, thank you so much. So we're looking at the Jospeh company, and like it's a Christian gathering, right? We all know Jospeh. Jospeh was someone who saved the economy of the world. And you would ask yourself today, in the world that we are today, and probably that would quickly go around, how would you advise, or what would you tell anybody sitting here? Where are we in that company? Are we in the era? I know you mentioned part of it a bit, but from different perspectives, what do you all think? Do you think we're in the era of gathering? Are we in the era of, farming? Or are we in the era of beginning to save and beginning to dispense? I'll start with Sheba.
Okay, thank you. I think that different people, different eras, and I think that Shegun quite alluded to it. But all of us can do a bit of both. This question particularly, we can do a bit of both. One is storing up new capabilities so that we are relevant in the future, and the future is close. I always say to people, with all of these conversations around AI, we just need AI to be cheap enough, and we will see that it will be all that is done, right? So if you remember, maybe like in the 2000s, 2002, there was a lot of hype around people learning Microsoft Office, learning all of those things. Today, like if I see Microsoft Office on somebody's CV, I don't think about it. It's a given, right? And that's where we are going. It's just because the cost and the usability of it is now so commoditized, right? So there is that place of developing and storing for capabilities. However, there is the second place of building, and sometimes when you build, you need to spend. So there is the place of now testing the waters to see, if I can do this, how do I go about doing it in it? So I feel like, and I think the PwC report was quite interesting, just showing that we are in this transitionary phase for the country and for ourselves. We also cannot remove the fact that there's the election cycle coming. And when there's the election cycle coming, typically, there's a lot of spending from the government end, but there's also a lot of challenges with that money trickling down to the people. So people need to be very cautious with how they are spending. And so there's a need to save just to be aware of the next coming, I think on Sunday was saying 6-7 months, of where we may see a bit more hardship trickling down. And of course, we can't take away the shocks that Shegun has spoken.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for her. All right, Shegun, let me come to you.
Okay, thanks. So, so there are things we tell businesses, and which is different from people. But from a business perspective, where it's the time to invest, we tell them it's time to build capacity. Don't forget, I said like 18 months, 2-year timeline when consumption will likely accelerate, etc. and all that. You need to build that capability. So it's for businesses, it's on the investment side, which is so that would be like farming, getting ready, on a global scale, it's also a bit different because it's nuanced, right? If you listen to a lot of global commentators, they'll say the US is almost entering its time of possible recession, right? So on a global space, it may also be a time of saving to have resilience, right? Especially in the advanced economy side. But for us as individuals, I would rather make a bet that it's a time of spending, not necessarily spending on things, but spending to build skills and capabilities. I don't know. Sorry,
Let's take note of that. Spending to build skills
and capabilities.
Can
I know
you lay out that
everybody
a
here
bit?
will know this more than maybe all of us. When a period does so much dramatic change, that me myself, my job is threatened. I don't know if you understand me. My job here is threatened. So what we need to do is to invest for the next cycle of skill set, which my sister talked about. It has to do with AI, and I'm sure David will speak a bit more about. So spend on skills, spend on knowledge, spend on information. If you are into business, spend on going to China trip to go and see what is there. What can you manufacture there? So it's time to spend on skills and capability.
Awesome. Please let's give a round of applause. And let's follow closely. Spend on skills and building capabilities. David?
All right, thank you very much. So I will tweak what you just said last, and I'll change one word there. I wouldn't call it spend on skills. I would say invest in skills, right? Because some of us consider stocks, bonds, and all of that as investment. Skill acquisition is also an investment, right? And I mean, the speakers have alluded to it already, but just to be able to interact a bit, please raise your hands if you have a business running. If you're here and you have a business running, not the business in your mind, it is running. Okay? Let's lift it up. Well, let's see. Maybe a few people. Raise your hands if you have a job, work, full-time work. Does that mean fewer hands? Okay, this is really interesting. It's really interesting. But I asked that because if you notice what's going on, and it's part of the revolution we talk about, if you notice what's going on globally, what's the founder of the founder of Twitter, former CEO, just laid off almost 50% of his workforce. And if you go, yes, about 4,000 people out, 4 out of 10. So they're left with about 6. However, almost 50% of his workforce, right? And if you check the news, that's exactly what's going on. So back to your question. I would say it's a time for us to tighten our belts, right? Like he said, even his job is not safe, right? Tighten your belts and see how you can reinvent yourself, either by skill acquisition, collaboration, partnerships, just looking for how you can strategically position yourself, because the next 18 months, like we've explored, are really critical. Some people will make advancements based on what they do now, based on the belts that they tighten. Some people will remain at the same spots, while some people will be looking and scrambling for what's going to happen next if the positioning is not done right. So please, tighten your belt. I wouldn't call it farming, but it's a time to, they'll say on the streets, sharpen your eye and invest in yourself and do what's right to be able to make progress. Thank you.
Awesome. A round of applause for him. So if I were to layer that again on the Jospeh company, we would say, from what I've heard you all say, maybe that's the time he started building the silos, right? That's where he began to build the silos, because there is possibility for a lot of wealth. Now I can imagine, still looking at that Jospeh story, that some people who didn't have this information, right, were left at the mercy of the Jospeh company. Now for the, and this is to you now, for the average person in church, that a policy happens, we just talked about what is happening in the Middle East, and there is additional cost for doing business, you have to transport. What is that cheat code? What is that preparation that will make you ever ready to say, no matter what happens, I don't want Nigeria to happen to me. I don't want the Middle East to happen to me. How would you advise an average person sitting here? I'm a lawyer, I am a teacher, I am a petty trader. How can I build myself? These shocks that we talked about, resilience, how can I prepare for those days?
Thank you very much. So the characteristic of the time we are now is abundance of knowledge, right? It's a characteristic. But the second element is the distraction of people. I don't know if it's happened to you.
Can you take that again?
So there's abundance of knowledge,
Okay.
and there's a massive distraction of people. I don't know if it's happened to any one of you. How many of you have spent 4 hours on Instagram just scrolling? Please raise up. I'm raising my hand.
Guilty as charged.
So I'll just get angry. I say tomorrow I will delete this Instagram and all that.
Yeah.
But what we are missing is that same 4 hours, 1 hour of it can be spent reading useful information. I'm not saying you should spend all your time reading useful information, right? And now that we are all educated, for example, this tax law everybody's talking about, you don't need to go to anywhere. Just say this tax law. Please let me search for the tax law. Telling ChatGPT, what is the implication for me of a business of selling rice and biscuits? It doesn't take you, you put in the ChatGPT or whatever, or WhatsApp chat, and it tell you what it is. One of the things I think is challenge of Christianity, I'm Christian, is the power of using our mind right.
Wow.
We don't do that. We let me put it the way, we spiritualize things that knowledge can unlock for us.
Yeah.
Right? So, get knowledge. Knowledge is democratized. Spend 1 hour out of those your 4 hours to do it. That's the best thing you can do for you. You want to know the latest news on a matter. You don't need to go to Business Day or anything. Just ask your AI, please, what's the latest thing happening here? So for me, it's just that habit of being curious and understand as a Christian that knowledge can unlock a lot of things for you. I think for me, it's very
Awesome.
practical. And it's what we can start doing almost from now.
Great. This is a good time to clap, everyone. Please, let's clap. Let's be engaged. So can we take the 2 things? What are the 2 things? And I want you to respond to me. There are 2 things you mentioned. What should we be doing? Are we following? Be curious. Yes. From the audience. What else did he say that we should be doing now? Seek knowledge. And it is not Instagram scrolling knowledge that will tell you, oh, this is, no. What a knowledge that is going to help you to grow. And I'll come to Jospeh. Now, you currently deal with big organizations. You consult for organizations, global organizations. But here you have entrepreneurs, you have business people, people who are doing day-to-day jobs. They only interact with people around them. So what would you advise them to focus on to be able to leverage these times that Mr. Zacchaeus has spoken so clearly to us? How with your knowledge of consulting for big organizations, for a solopreneur, somebody who's just starting his business, what are the things that you feel, these are the disciplines that is required, that has helped big organizations that you see is lacking in our day-to-day businesses? Sheba?
Okay. Thank you. I think the key word is tracking. One thing that a lot of big organizations are able to clearly do is to track. Track goals, track revenues, track cost lines, track spikes, right? And I'll give an example. For a few years, I worked in a food company, right? And we had a bestseller, little cake that people liked a lot. It was 100 naira. And it sold so much, so well. And then one day, we sat down and did the cost analysis of that cake. We were making that 100 naira cake for nothing less than 200 naira, and we were selling it. It was going off the racks crazy. So what an accountant would call cost accounting, when we actually took the pieces of this cake that was selling for 100 naira, we were making a lot of cash, but we were bleeding.
We're losing money.
We were bleeding. So that is what I see is the biggest challenge of many, many small businesses. They do not know exactly what it costs to make value. So you can say to yourself that you are giving your friend a 50% discount because you don't know
What it costs.
what it costs. And you think you are being friendly, but you are bleeding. You are actually bleeding, right? So that, I think, is the one thing. If you can do the rigor, and now with things like ChatGPT, it can be so, in fact, with any of these tools, it can be so almost mind-numbing, like no challenge to it. So ask it to say, this is my current business. I want to be able to track all my expense lines. Suggest to me what should be my expense lines. And let it say it. And then ask it to give you other questions that may be optional issues, because I serve the Lagos community. And you are going to have it ask and answer those questions and begin to write. So one of the major things, and with dealing with shocks, is being able to track. Shegun was saying stuff around how are we pricing. That's the only way you can price. That's the only way somebody can tell you, come and cater for me. And I tell you, see, my last price is 100K. Because you know that this is your last price. There's nothing you can do about it. So that's what I would say. Just track.
Excellent. Please, let's give her a round of applause. Excellent. Let's be engaged. I like that. Maybe it's an opportunity for me to, since I'm moderating, and it ties down to what you're saying. I just started a small business, thanks to inspirations from people like David. And I was doing plantain chips. I started plantain chips. And somebody said to me, of course, my cost price per unit for a pack is about 1,000 naira. And somebody said, oh, give me at 800, and I'll buy this quantity. And I was almost jumping at it until I went back to my notes, which is the tracking, and I went to look at the cost of each item without label. And I saw that if I was going to give him at that price, I was not just going to be making no money, I was going to be at a loss. It will look like a good deal. Oh, this person is going to give me opportunity into a global market, but then you're making a loss. So it's something that I can relate to personally. So another round of applause for that answer. So for our businesses, for most of us who are going into business, let's make sure we keep track of every item. Even if you are paying somebody to deliver it, give that Korokwe man to go and deliver it. Please, let's track it. It's very important. Thank you very much.
Can I just add that you can also make that business decision, but you are now making it with knowledge. From a place of knowledge. You can now say, if this is going to open to me a different market, then I am this. And this is, businesses do this a lot. You do the financials of business and you can see that they've lost money for 2 years because they were trying to do something strategic, right? So, but it's from a place of knowledge. It's not from a place of money entered my account.
Yeah. Right? Okay, still sticking with you because I like that flow, right? And there are many young people that we have here. So, again, you have, we heard your profile, how you have gone from different organizations. And there are young people here who have an advantage of knowledge. There's so much that is going on in the space today. And they are not leveraging as much as we should. You know, Shego just told us about how much time we spend on ChatGPT, Instagram and social media. What will you say to that young person, not to your 15, 17-year-old self, 20-year-old self, to say, this is what you should focus on, so that by the time you get to whatever stage you are now, you'll probably be quadrupling what you are doing. So what would you say to the young people who are in our midst or who are listening to us online?
Okay, I think one of the things that I would say, and it's very simple, but it's very hard, is do whatever you have excellently. You see this distraction that Shegun has talked about, it spans a lot of things. I am extremely irritated by the level. In fact, there are days I speak to my team and I say, but you people have ChatGPT, like, you know.
What I do.
So this false success that social media shows, that, you know, we can somehow fake it till we make it. It's not true, actually. And even the knowledge that ChatGPT can give us, it will be obvious that there is a gap. So that's being excellent in what you do. And I'll give a life example. My first job was in PwC. That was the first job that I entered to apply for without knowing anybody. After PwC, somebody has called me to say, do you want this role? In some cases, people have waited for 1 year for me to say, yes, I want the role and I want to come in. And when I look backwards, the only thing that I can see is that someone just thought that that they could take a chance on me, right? Because I would show up in that role and do my best. So no matter what you are doing, and I kid you not, no matter what, you are sweeping church, people have a way of deciding who gets into those doors, who you show that opportunity to because of how you showed up for something. So it's very, 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 very important to do what you do excellently.
Excellent. Let's give a round of applause. Do what you do excellently, no matter what you are doing now. We'll give some opportunity for questions. You wanted to say something? Yeah, because you showed up. Because you showed up. So, young people, show up. If you are volunteering, right? I believe that's what you're saying. Make sure you show up and show up excellently. It always opens the doors. That's a sure banker. Okay. Is there another mic? Don't worry, sit, please sit. I'll come to you. Is there a mic?
All right, thank you. Yeah, I just want to make this contribution. During the PTF, we get a grant. I was consulting, so and we had to bring bus from Mercedes bus. So we went to Egypt to inspect and do all those beautiful jobs. Now we need an uptaker here. We got a company that has about maybe about 30 buses. And it would have been nice enough to start with it. And we went there. We entered the book. Okay, we bring this, bring that. Of course, they bring something. When I get to the bank to release, to give guarantee and all that. And for us, it was like, oh, this is the final bus stop. We got there, okay, fine, bring this. With about 30 buses loading every day. They don't have up to 3 million resting balance in any of their accounts. So it was just strictly cash. We did everything. And, funny enough, the risk people will not take some things, no matter how beautiful. And it cost us at that junction, we couldn't move forward. So, and from there, I know that, look, whatever you are doing, no matter how, making money, because most of the time, we make money, we don't know whether we are making profit. But we are making money because money are coming in and going out. But we really profit, we don't pay attention to it. Whatever we are doing as business people, no matter how, have a basic, even if it's an Excel you can put the Excel. Make sure that your money enter into your bank and before you come on. When I was running business, no matter how, don't give me cash. Go to the bank. Anything I want to do, I move it from there. So I think there should be another round of training where we can separate us from the business. Yeah, that's Agbola from the business. Absolutely. I think that is going to, because that's where we actually fail a lot. Sorry for... Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please, let's give him a round of applause. I think he's speaking more on making sure you track, you document, and you separate, what you call personal money from business money. Thank you so much. And I'd like to come to David, talking about the young self. Sometimes when I know you're very active on social media, on Instagram. I talked about a letter. I think I saw something you wrote one time as a letter to my 10-year-old self. And it was very inspiring. As young people, we have lofty ideas. Some people, if you, at some point you ask your kids, what do you want to do? He tells you something so grandiose. and you wonder, is it possible? So as young people that have dreams, you have been able to build from very little to where you currently partner with, the federal government, with international organizations. What would you say to that young person still looking at the Jospeh company? What would you say to that young person who doesn't really know what to do? He has so many ideas, but he doesn't know how to go about it. He doesn't know where the money is going to come from. Most times they tell you capital is everything. You get to some other places, they tell you don't prioritize capital, start. So what would you say with someone who has had the experience of growing from the ground up? What would you say should be the focus of people who are looking to grow and play at that space?
So I'll say two things. Are we together now? I'll say two things. The first thing is, if you ask here now, who needs money? Everybody will raise their hands. If you go on the street and ask, does anybody need money? Everybody will say they need money. So everybody needs money. But I'll say that money is not the starting point. Money is not the first thing you need. Looking at the story of Joseph. Joseph did not start by building the pyramid, right? And if you take an example from the richest man that ever lived, Solomon, the first thing he requested for was not money. It was wisdom. Wisdom supersedes financial capital. I'll repeat that. Wisdom, being wise to know exactly what you need to do, supersedes financial capital. There is something called wisdom from above. You know what people will pay to go to Dubai, London, to US to go and research in a lab. God can give you that wisdom in your bedroom to have an idea, and then you take that idea and begin to implement it. Are we together?
Yeah.
So wisdom from above can give you insights into things that you probably would not have been able to achieve on your own to achieve it. But money, yes, money is very important, I can tell you. And I'll give you an example. When we got the project with the World Bank and the federal government, it did not start from send me your account number and then they sent us money and we started implementing the project. No, that's not where it started from. It started from ideation. You write a proposal out, and I've said this on many platforms. That proposal was up to 40 pages and took 1 month with 4 brilliant minds, to PhD holders, including myself, to build that proposal. And then we submitted it. When they were coming from Abuja, the federal government and the World Bank, coming to Lagos to inspect, I had never done that kind of a thing before, right? I did my research. I knew exactly what was obtainable, but I knew I needed to do something out of the thousands of companies who had applied in Nigeria to get their attention. And the wisdom from above began to drop. So first, they were coming from the airport to Ajah to inspect the facility. They were going to be tired. So I prepared the boardroom, ensured that they had a conducive environment. Thanks to my wife for some of the support at the time. We gave them water, food, small chops.
Let's give her a round of applause.
And as soon as they arrived, we offered them something to cool off and relax. They were very cranky, annoyed. Let me see your internet. Let me see your this. We're just following them gradually and No, they didn't ask for it. We knew. And then we made it wisdom from above. Thank you. And so in their crankiness, we followed them gradually, showed them every single thing they needed. When they were going, we gave them a souvenir, and guess what we did? We made sure we printed our logo big on that souvenir, so that when they're on their way, even if they stack it with a lot of things, there is no way that logo will not show from a distance. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Those were little details here and there that came in, and we made sure that we made a very good impression. When they went, that name kept. When they are making general meetings with other consortiums, there's no way they wouldn't just mention House of Heroes as a reference, because it was so big. Even a blind man will see it. Are we together?
Yeah.
Those are subtle things. That's number one. Wisdom from above supersedes capital. I was going to say something about relationships, but I'll keep that aside. Then the second thing, which I'll pick up from what Sheba said, is for young people, when you get information, you have an Excel sheet, you have an idea, you've consulted ChatGPT and all of that. When you have all the information, what do you do with it? And I think that's something that has helped me. Being able to reduce the time from ideation to execution, to shorten that time. And sometimes for me, it's sort of like military style. So as it's coming, I'm implementing, I'm executing. Sometimes I can lie on my bed, and when it pops up, I stand up, maybe not to implement it, but to write it down so that I don't forget. And if you look at the builders who have even built Nigeria, a lot of the infrastructure we have now in Nigeria were built during the military regime, the Third Mainland Bridge. Yeah. Because they have a military mindset. You think about something now, you have the information, what next? You jump into execution. Many of us spend a lot of time in that loop, ideation, thinking before the next step. If we can reduce the time between ideation, planning, and to execution, we would have overcome a lot of obstacles that many people out there are still struggling with.
Excellent. Please, let's give him a round of applause. Excellent. I like, what you said. And still talking to you, don't switch off your mic yet. You see, you mentioned something around young people leveraging technology. And he mentioned, the fact that he was on a train and he was able to build an app. Now, as someone who is in the tech space, like we said before, a lot of people are in different kinds of business. You just wonder, what is my own and AI? What is my own and technology? Can you be as practical as possible? How can people leverage, you just had a conference, Tech Revolution Africa. How can everybody have that mindset that, look, with tech, I can revolutionize the way I currently operate?
I like the word revolution. Like, a revolution talks about a 360 cycle, like a reset, right? So there's an opportunity to reset. And I'm going to answer this question with an example. A couple of us know this or have seen. How many of us have eaten a cake called Fastest Cakes before? Some of us have patronized it, yes, Fastest Cakes. But they're currently operating in 5 cities, 5 countries now, yes. But before Fastest Cakes became what they are today, as far back as 2020, right? I was at Echo Hotel. We have Fastest Cakes and myself, we have a common in-law, so we met and we were talking. What were they doing at the time? They were making cakes, regular cakes, just like you talked about. They were making regular cakes. But Charles Davies mentioned, they want to see how they can make cakes get delivered to people faster. So I remember I have a birthday. I've not been able to order cake. Diva Cakes, you have to drive down. They should be able to pick up their phone, make an order for a cake, and get it in 30 minutes. And so their value proposition at the time was, get your cake in 30 minutes, free fireworks. And they were somewhere around Opik, that beggar area. Their focus in the first couple of months was, let's see how we can do this effectively and deliver within this region. And they started 30 minutes, regular cake. You can turn on the application, order it, and they get it in 30 minutes. They were running, I don't know the profit margins, but they were using Uber at the time. Now, on the streets, if you go out, you see Fastest Cakes vehicles, they've been funded, heavily. But then they were using Ubers just to ensure that the quality of the cakes were preserved and it got to the right people in the right time. Their value proposition was 30 minutes. And so one thing I see technology has been able to do is bring in some of those tools that can help you deliver faster. Before you get information, you have to pay PwC some kind of huge monies and to get some kind of... Now, with your fingertips, you have that. People are becoming increasingly impatient. Ask yourself, this thing I'm doing, how can I deliver it faster? 1, technology can help you do that. 2, how can I deliver it with utmost quality? Then with accuracy. These are things technology can help you leverage. I'll just give you an example of a bakery business that was transformed using technology. Just get this to the customer 30 minutes faster. And that was the value proposition. So you can see that you can begin to take some of the advantages that technology offers and apply it to your business. I was talking to a young person earlier today. He shared a very brilliant idea that he wants to share with some of his bosses in the office. And I asked the question. I said, how do you want to share it? Is it an elevator talk or a hallway talk? He says he wants to have a conversation. You know what? To make this effective, ChatGPT can help you develop 2 effective slides. Show them what the problem is, show them what the solution is, present it, and it's going to be taking 10x much more than just talking. And that can be done within a very short period of time. So you would begin to see that the things you did in a longer period of time, technology can help you shorten the period and become much more effective. And people take you a bit more seriously than you were doing it before. So, those are the few things I'll say.
Thank you so much. Please, let's round of applause. Round of applause. Everyone, we are going to our final sets of questions. How much time we have? I know we have probably, our time is up. Awesome. Okay, maybe my final question will be to Zacchaeus. Shegun, thank you so much. It's been such an interesting session. Now you advise governments, you advise big organizations, you deal with big numbers. And I must tell you, maybe on a lighter note, when we first got your slide and we saw it, we say, this man is going to come and load us with big English that nobody understands. But we are so, I'm thrilled at the way you delivered and how it impacts everybody. Now, maybe one final note. As someone who has operated and you currently operate, with government, you see where decisions are taken. I know you gave some insights as to how we should be thinking as individuals and not as government. So we see some of these inconsistencies in government and in the policies. Sometimes they say, tighten your belt, more taxes, and then you don't see where the money is going. How can you help the mindset of the Nigerian first to be a loyal citizen, to pay his taxes, because I'm sure a lot of people don't pay their taxes as much as we should. How do you advise us as Christians and as business people to operate in this economy? Sometimes when I look at what we are supposed to pay as taxes, we say, oh boy, you just say, I'll go pay this money, right? So how should we operate as Christians in this economy such that we can still make that wealth and grow exponentially?
Hello. That's an interesting question. Thank you very much. So I guess for me, there are 3 things to sort of reflect on. One is your duty. The Bible says we're in the world, right? We may not be of the world, but we are still in the world, right? And there are certain responsibilities of being in the world, right? Except you want to go to heaven. If you say, who wants to go to heaven now? Nobody will say, as you go to heaven now. Who wants to go to that street of gold now, today? So, at a certain level of expectation and accountability that we have. And I think for me, I'm lucky that the business we do, we take all these things very seriously. We pay taxes, you don't even want to understand. So sometimes when you see what you pay and you see what you see, man, you can be really angry, right? So for me, it's that accountability that you need. And paying taxes, even as a small business, builds some sort of institutionalization for you, right? At the end of the day, when you want to fund your business big, you want to get big loans, you want World Bank, you want global investors, it's those basic things. Where's your account statement?
Wow.
Do you pay your taxes? Where are those things that they look for? And quite a number of businesses don't get those funding because of not having all these elements that you require to be an institution. So essentially, the way I would frame it is that if you want to build an institution that's endurable, that will be global, if not today, in 10, 15, 20 years' time, you need to start doing what I will call things that makes you accountable and transparent as of today. And those values are the value that we even have as Christians. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're done. I'll hand over now to the general moderator.
Okay, one comment.
Sorry,
Final
one
comment.
comment within 2 minutes, and I think it's for the audience here, right? I was listening to someone, and I think it's beneficial that the way global businesses, or should I say, $1 million businesses are built, if you look at the framework or the disintegrated units, you'd find that you have one person who has the potential of 1 million, another person a potential of 1 million, all put together make a $10 million business. If you want to build a $1 billion business, you bring $10 million heads, and then you build a $1 billion business. What am I saying? Gone are the days where we want to have the idea and build it on our own or by ourselves. He said something, become builders and partner, right? There are individuals here who have some strengths that you don't have. If you see that you can only get this far, look for a brother or a sister that you can collaborate with and that you can work with.
Excellent.
That will take you 10 steps further. And that's how big businesses are built. We can give you some examples, but because of time, we may not be able to do that. But that's a key to growing beyond where you are in terms of your business. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much. So final thoughts. We've taken a final thought from you. Let's take a final thought from Sheba.
I guess because I've been in proper career, I think one of my final thoughts should be, apart from this excellence, is this thing around how you position yourself. So 2 things that I think I got from, and we are Christians, from God this year, is this fact of the land is good, but the reports may be different. So if we remember the children of Israel, when they went to check the land of Canaan, right? Every single person, right, apart from 2, said, the land is good, but the giants are a lot. And I think this year, God put a hand on that scripture for me and said, this land is good, but there are giants. The only thing that differentiated Joshua and Caleb was their perception of how to overcome the giants. And it's this thing can cut across in so many ways, so many ways. So that's being able to position, and maybe the way to position is this thing, and I like what Shegun has done today, because in my head, it answered a very good question. You know, also when there was famine, and was this Elijah that was praying, and he would say to his servant to go and check, right? What the posture of Elijah was his head down, right? His head down. And every few times he will raise his head to ask, to say, what's the economic parameter?
What's the indication?
What are the indications? But there was a putting of his head down to walk. You know, every time I think about those 2 scriptures have been quite instructive for me this year, is this place of removing the distraction and focusing. And just focusing on God, there will be rain, right? And ever so often, you bring your head up, check what the economic indicators are saying to move. So it is important that we are very clear that this land is a good land. There are giants in this land. But have you gone? I've had to travel. Do you see the airport every single time? I see the numbers on cross-border spend in Nigeria. We have no thought of how those numbers are big in this
same land.
So there is the milk and there is the honey. But there are people that need to put their head down and focus.
Wow.
And drive focus, drive execution with that posture, so that we can gain from the good of the land.
Excellent. Please let's give a round of applause as we come to the end of this session. I'll hand over back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Samuel. Thank you. You can sit down, please. I think we might have some questions. I mean, what other better closing, right, than putting your head down? And that putting your head down speaks a lot to the work we need to do. I realize that a lot of times the problem that we have is that we don't want to labor. We just want to see things happen. But putting in the work is where the result is found. So put your head down, excellence. And then one thing I also want to add, was, you talked about taxes and all of that. Sometimes you see these things you can't pay. It is very important that we begin to start paying our taxes. You don't just wait for your organization to do it for you. Now it's been more simplified. You go on their website, put in your income, and then start paying. Just one very important information. For paying of your personal taxes, please try to get it done before 31st of March. Because if you don't do that, the fines that will come after 31st of March is not funny. So please, if you are yet to file and all of that, please try to do that before 31st of March. Praise the Lord.
Thank you.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Okay, so do we have questions that we want to ask our panelists before they move to their seats? Everybody is full. Everybody is full. Okay, if you are full, may I have a question for you?
Yes, please, go ahead.
I have questions. I'm sure you guys have questions for them, right? Okay, so just give me one thing that you're going home with today. Just one thing. One thing. We used to do that in Teens Church a lot, right? So we're going to do that here. Just one thing that you're going home with today.
Praise the Lord. Excellence. But I wanted to add having an edge over your competitors. That I think was what Brother David was talking about. So I go home, reinforce that there has to be something that you're doing that others are not doing. He mentioned the fastest cakes that, ironically, I saw their van as I was coming this morning. And he said, I think, there's a technical term for it. He says something about your value, value proposition. It's 30 minutes. So to me, that's the edge. So you need to have an edge to be part of the Jospeh company. Praise the Lord.
Amen. Please, a round of applause for him. So this table has answered one thing they are going home with today. So over to this table now. You have a question? Oh, you have a question. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Is it afternoon already? Yep. I'm Gideon. So I just wanted to ask, thank you for the insightful sessions. They've been really insightful. I wanted to ask, how do you balance being diplomatic? How do you balance being diplomatic with not compromising on your faith? I mean, we're in this world, we are not of this world. And a lot of times, especially in big circles, like most of you have had the privilege of, some of the challenges, as somebody raised, is this corruption, and you want to get in a space, you want to do this, you have stuff, and some agents are demanding what if you comply to, is a compromise of your faith. And then, however, if you don't do that, it's like it's a closed door. So how do you balance being diplomatic? How do you draw the line? How do you balance it? I had a testimony, I think in one of the sessions, made for God and by God, by our sister Chisom, and where someone talked about losing in millions of dollars. They had invested, I think, $50 million. Start to be corrected. And because there was this demand for what you call bribe, and they couldn't go ahead with it. And the investment was almost a waste. And we have a lot of Christians in our circles who would use language or use anything just to, not call it bribe, but in your heart, this is bribe, and we just try to we call it diplomacy, we call it whatever. So where do we draw the line? How do we be blunt, and how do we balance these things? That's my question.
How do you balance diplomacy as a Christian in the corporate or business world?
Who wants to take it?
So I would say, let Shagun start. Maybe they can all say one. Okay, David wants to start. Okay.
Okay, because I've been in business for, this year will mark 10 years now, right? I can tell you for a fact, or let me start by saying this, that as a Christian, right? As a believer, you are not isolated. There are people out there doing business for years who are believing Christians and who have held on to their values and are there. And so there is no room for compromise. There's no way you say, I'm the only person doing the right thing here. It is absolutely impossible. And I'm saying very sensitive positions like government appointments, federal parastatals, right? Now, I can tell you for a fact that some of these things, like you said, I asked the question here, in your heart, you know that it is a bribe. I asked the question, how do you know in your heart that is a bribe, right? I mean, those are things that we can talk about later. But if an opportunity is tied to giving bribe, I can tell you for a fact that that is not your opportunity. It is not for you. And if you are already in the business and that is a blocker, right? There are several templates that you can use. There is Daniel in the Bible that you can use. There is Esther. There are several templates in the Bible that you can take that particular blocker to God. And I can give you an example that, okay, are we recording? Okay, we're recording. So there is a particular person, my wife knew that this person was a problem in a project. There's nothing you will do that will please this person. Nothing. And we had got information that this is what other companies had done, and he would just be, romanticizing them and playing. But for it was a problem. And so what I did is, when we had one inspection, I said, I will use this opportunity to show this person that this is who we are and this is what we represent. What did I do? I made sure that when the person landed, we gave him a very good landing point. Made sure that he was well catered for from the airport. Did all the round trips here. Had the opportunity to talk about him. Now, in that conversation, I knew he was going through some problems, which I cannot mention. And again, wisdom from above. I tried to, he was a very senior person, but the little experience I had, encouraged him, made sure that he saw the human being I was, or knew beyond the business we're doing. And then when he went back, the whole story flipped and changed. It happened because of two things. One, we prayed about it. She knew. We prayed about it in the secret place. And we said, God, this encounter will change this person's perspective about what we're doing. And that was it. No bribe was given. There was no courtship. There was no cutting of corners. And that was what flipped it. That's my own personal experience. So I can tell you that if that opportunity requires you paying money to bribe, it is not your opportunity. You can let it go. And we've done businesses with people that the business went from end to end smoothly and there was no passing of nothing, no requirements. It happens. And there are Christians who are in that field doing it and have not had to give bribe or compromise. So there is an opportunity for us to still play clean with integrity. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. So I think Sheba is going to give a bit of more different perspective since you are more in the corporate ladder. And let's hear from you.
Okay, so the first thing that I will say is we underestimate our advantage. And this is what David has talked about the Holy Spirit. A very simple one that happened to me just yesterday was there's supposed to be a trip that should clash with another trip I have next week. And I was struggling with the politics of that trip because it will require that I position as though I am not for the leadership of the business, right? There are many things I can't say, but it will require that if I don't go for that trip, I will position like I was not a part, like I'm not loyal to this leadership. And so I remember 2 days ago, I just told my husband, this trip cannot happen. It's either this trip doesn't happen or they don't need me. They don't need me so that the trip doesn't happen. So I just, very simple prayer. I don't even think, there's a way we pray that we think we are afraid. I just prayed this simple prayer. God, this trip will not happen. And so yesterday at 3 o'clock, we get on the call with our, who we call a GCM. And there was something she wanted us, my unit, to present at that meeting. And we just started the project. I don't know how people sold it to her. I don't know how they thought we were done. And for some reason, and maybe this is something else that I will say, I had the boldness to say to her that I do not believe that we have enough information to do XYZ. I believe that it is premature for you to be having conversations with government about a study we are not done with. I said those 2 words. And she said, okay, I think it's best for us to either move this meeting or have me go and so without doing this study. It was a simple prayer. But I knew that if I did not clearly explain at that session to her, I would have been struggling to play the politics of what was going on, and I would have been in a lot of mess come next week. So that is one. We underestimate the value of our advantage. The second thing that I would then say is, David has said, if it is like that, that is not for you. See, everybody, including corporates, comes to the table with something. Everybody has something that they are. I sit down in meetings and I can see Indians with all their beads, with the dots in their head. They come with something. So let's not get it twisted. Everybody comes with something. So you too, show up in that place with your something. The last thing is, there is a negative bias to things like this. We hear only of when the contract was stopped because they were Christians. We don't hear a lot of when the contract went through because they are Christians.
Correct.
There is a huge negative bias. So there are many times that we all hear, oh, it's so corrupt, it's so corrupt, it's so corrupt. But we do not hear enough. And it's like a plane, right, that flies. We hear about all the flights that crash. We never hear about all the flights that succeed. And there are a lot more that succeed than that crash. So if your mindset, the way you are positioning your mind is that, there are times I've been in cases in visa where we don't go to work on Fridays. I go to work, I remove my shoes and I walk around. And I say, this place, I will conquer you. I am here as a child of God. I did not come as anything else. I came for the good of this land. Because I want the good of this land, this place will favor me. I say it there. Clearly, I deliberately go to the office on that day because that's what I want to do. Clearly. So that when I go into places, when I go into meetings, where you hear things, when David is talking about people being let go, the organization, a lot of American technology companies has changed their models. Like people are going, like a whole department is coming to work and they are useless because of AI or because of something. So somebody must remember that Sheba is continuing to be important since I still need to be here. Yeah. So it is that advantage, and even me, God is teaching me to consistently use that advantage. Consistently. It is not by the back, it is in front, right? And especially when I see the Indians, I always smile. You see the things on their hand, you see their red dots. They are not playing. They are not playing at all. They are here for you, you too, you are here for them. So this is the way that I would think about it. Think about the successful buyers much more than you think about, what is not happening because of.
Wow, thank you so much. Please, a round of applause for that. Think about the successful buyers other than the negative, which is very, very important. Very important. Okay, Shagun, you're not saying anything. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, so you have a question, right?
Yeah, okay. Any of the discussants can weigh in on what I'm about to ask. And what I want to ask is, if you have a house that you've rented for accommodation, but you think, of course, that the way things pan out is that what you're paid in rent is commensurate to what you spend, your expenses. Now, which is the quickest way to convert that house? That is a business, now it's an investment, to convert it to money that you can use to do business, because the rents that are coming from it, they are commensurate. By the time you've paid your outgoings, your expenses, they just balance out. So you want to create some kind of alternative source of income by investing from that. How do you do that? Amen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who's going to take that question?
Let me try.
Okay.
People like Shego will use. So there are a bit of factors we need to know. Where is the assets? Where? And what are people doing now with assets? I generally am finding a need for small group spaces, especially in places that are close to commercial centers, right? So if you go to Lekki, a lot of the houses have been converted to either co-work spaces or short lets, or what's the last one? There are these like little conference centers for like 50 people, for like 30 people. Well, you need to ask yourself, where is the asset? If the asset is in somewhere that is remote, then even short lets may not work, right? And sometimes we need to really ask ourselves if shortlet even really makes money, right? Because the economics of shortlet is also quite, you need to really look at it. So there are other elements to it. What I think things like rent is that it gives you a steady source of income. What you now need to do is when this bulk income comes, how do I drag it through 10 months? I think is usually the question. How do I spread it across for myself? So there are different ways. Shegun has talked about Piggyverse, for instance. You can put it somewhere, and every month you are drawing down from it. Or you have half of it that you use for the first few months. It can be tough, but I feel like when you have those kind of assets, that's really the thing. How am I spreading it for a longer time so that I can use the money for longer than just it comes in this month, I finish the rent, and next month I'm waiting. So I don't know if that's clarified, but where the asset is critical to whatever you can do with it.
Thank you very much, Sheba. I hope your question was answered. Okay. I doubt if we have any other question. So thank you so much, our panelists. It's been such a wonderful time listening to you guys. So please, a round of applause for them. Thank you, Shegun, Sheba, David, Samuel. Okay, you want to take photos? Please. Who is our... Emeke, please. Sorry, 1 minute. Where's our phones? Let's be agile, technology agile. There's phone. Thank you so much. Okay, Sheba.
We are a community and there are young people here. And I remember in my early days, so between Uncle Stanley and Uncle Sunday, I probably did a lot of internships through their opening of my doors. When somebody opens a door for you, you have the responsibility to keep that person's integrity. When somebody opens a door for you, I think I worked in CWG because of Uncle Stanley. I think I worked in Tavia because of Uncle Sunday. But when somebody finally opens a door for you, as a young person, you have that responsibility to keep the integrity of that person. Because what that person is saying is that I'm banking on you and the relationship with these people or this organization to do that. So I just thought, it just dropped in my mind and I thought to drop it.
Thank you so much, very much, Sheba, for that. That is critical. That is very critical. Once you get an opportunity, make the person proud. Simple. Just make the person